developing world-class business intelligence reporting with Power BI, helping aspiring analysts transform raw data into clear, actionable insights for better decision-making, which is the end goal of every data analyst for you to be able to make informed decisions. His achievements include emerging as second runner-up in the DSN 2024 Artificial Intelligence Bootcamp Project Challenge for his Earth Data Analysis Project. Many of you don't really know what this great accomplishment is all about. All right. An accomplishment that earned him a Microsoft certification voucher. Wow. He went on to earn the Microsoft PL300 Power BI Data Analyst certification, further validating his visualization and reporting skill. Do you know what it means to be a Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst certified personnel? Not only that, as a Zindin ambassador, global shaper with the World Economic Forum, an active member of data community in Nigeria. He is deeply committed to knowledge sharing. He has mentored students and professionals, served as a tutor in programs like DSN, Data Science Nigeria, Free AI in Every City, and consistently creating beginner-friendly content to make data skills more accessible. His hands-on patient teaching style and proven track record of delivering practical data training makes him an excellent facilitator. For this two-day Excel class, where participants will gain foundational and immediately applicable skills to boost their analytical capabilities and drive real business impact. With a beautiful emoji, can we welcome our facilitator, our trainer, Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Emmanuel, please, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Kindly confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't know. Just this evening, just began. It just got cloudy, and internet connection has been messy. So trying to. I'm currently joining on my phone, so trying to join using my PC. I definitely hope it's going to, turn out well. So yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Folawade, for the wonderful introduction, and good evening to everyone. It's not standing in making a decision to be in class like this. We have things that we could have used our time to do, but we all decided to sacrifice it for the purpose of learning. And I definitely believe that you will not regret this decision you've made today. So just another confirmation to be sure that I'm heard clearly, just to be sure.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So our focus for this 2 day session, right, is going to be how we can use Excel as a tool to be able to build, insight from what's it called? Using a data, sales data, for example. And I would love to also know what the categories of persons, so that I know, the kind of words I use, right? To know if it's people who are just new to data, if there are people who are experts who are intermediate. I don't know if you could make use of the chat box, the message chat to, if you are new to, maybe if you are new to the whole data of a thing, maybe can I just maybe see your emoji to know if maybe we have newbies? Okay, I believe there are no newbies, right? So okay, intermediate. Well, okay, I'm also an intermediate person when it comes to, so we are doing this together. This is a platform for learning, right? And the learning is going to be mutual. So um Something I would just want to go over before while I anticipate my screen coming up is just walking us through some of the foundation knowledge that is expected to be gained about you can't just jump into building or creating dashboard, running analysis if you don't understand some of the concept that is foundational concept, right? And something I just want to us to understand, right? We've had it multiple times where it is being said that data is the new oil, right? And I won't deny that fact because once you have data, there are a lot of things you can do, right? And just like I said, data is the new oil. And we all know the process it takes for oil to be gotten, right? The same thing is the, when you have your data, process of refining has to happen. And that process just is just your data cleaning, your data transformation, data validation, and the likes. So this is just you refining your data to be able to get, a well, improved insight, right? So that's one of the things. And I know we would have understood the fact that data comes in different forms, structured, unstructured, and semi-structured, right? And the structured is working with a structured data. And by that means just your like the data that has been sent to the group chat, where you have data in rows and columns. So this is an example of structured data. And another thing that we also need to, understand is there is an data analysis process, right? I think I heard Mr. Samuel saying it when I joined. You can't just once you just get your data, you don't just jump into conclusion, right? Keep answer questions you need to ask. And the first would always right is a block. So data analysis would always begin with a question. The sales data that has been sent, right? We need to look at it and ask ourselves some questions. What is it that we need to understand, right? And we've gotten the data set, right? So one of the things you always be doing is after you've asked yourself the questions you need to solve, right? You get the data set that will aid you to answer those questions. Then once you are done, data are not always clean, right? Data are not always clean. So you as a data analyst now needs to begin cleaning your data, begin the data cleaning process to ensure that you have to a large extent a clean data that would enable you to be able to perform your analysis, right? And something that is always important to note is the fact that data cleaning is an iterative process. You might think you've cleaned the data to a large extent, and when you want to create an analysis or derive an insight, you find out that something is not well formatted. You need to still go back and still make amendments where necessary, right? So another thing is now analyzing this data set. It could be you could be working on maybe ML based project. It could be just descriptive. It could be statistical, right? So you now need to analyze this data, then get the insight you need. And once you get it, you don't just leave it. Keep this beautiful insight in your PC. So you need to tell the story, right? You tell people what you're able to do, and by telling story, you are building a brand for yourself. People could see, what you've done and reach out to you. Looking at what you've done, I also have a problem similar to this which you have solved. So when you build this thing, don't just keep it to your PC. Tell the story, let people know what you're able to do, how you transition from the raw data to the insight. Right. So that's it about the data analysis process. Um, we also know that we also have various type of analysis, right? Which is we have the descriptive, we have the diagnostic, we have predictive, we have prescriptive, right? I know we would have seen some of these play out where descriptive is just basically you want to know what is happening. Using the data, for instance, we have might would need a descriptive analysis to understand what is the sales that that's what can we say about the sales by is it by location, by discount type, the likes of that. So this is trying to know what has happened. We also have the diagnostic, right? You want to know why did it happen. Right. If sales is increasing, let me say the first quarter of the year, what is happening? Is it because people made money the last quarter and they want to, spend the first quarter? So you need to understand why is it, why am I seeing this value? Why is this thing happening when it is this particular period of time? Why is it that when election is drawing nearer, we have people trying to they share out rice. What happened before election? Why don't they do that? So you need to understand why, because there is a reason to that action. So diagnostic analysis is you trying to understand why this is happening. And also we have the predictive, which is you trying to look into the future, like what will happen in the nearest future. So, and most of this predictive analysis majorly has to do with machine learning model. You're trying to running statistical model, trying to predict based on previous occurrence, right? We have already known, based on as Nigerians, we already know that politicians to a large extent don't seem to care for the citizen, right? Compared the way, or let me say the way they show care to the citizen, it can't be compared to when election is coming closer, right? You see them trying to show they care because there is a reason behind it. So you can easily tell, okay, when election in the next 4 years, right? We already know what's going to happen. So you trying to do that is a predictive analysis. And we have the last one, which is the prescriptive, right? From the word prescribe, you're trying to say, okay, I know this is what has happened, this is why it happened, and this is what will happen now. What do you do? How do you position yourself, having known what has happened and why it happened and what will happen? So you now need to position yourself, and that is what you do after you've seen it. So that is it about the prescriptive analysis. So, and this is just to just create a foundation of, data. I just believe we're able to get one or two from that. So I believe I wasn't. Can I get a comfort that I wasn't just talking to myself?
Yes, we are getting you. We are getting
We're
you.
listening to you.
All right. So I'm still trying. The network is my PC is taking, is not connecting. Just give me. So how many of us have gotten while how many of us has downloaded the data set that is to be used?
I've downloaded it.
Oh, okay. Uh, so who else? Let me. Why is this taking long? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yusuf. 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 Yeah. You can do that. Why? Yeah, Yusuf. I think. Or are you trying to confirm that or indicate that you have downloaded the data?
I made a mistake when I was pressing the when I was raising my hand before. Did you hear me, sir?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I just hope you had. Yeah. Sorry. Can you see hear me? Can you see hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Oluwatobi, sorry. Okay. You are joining with your PC, right? I want to confirm. Okay. I think it's coming. I think it's better now. Let me- – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – Yeah, I was asking if you joined with your, since it's taking time. I was trying to see so that we can improvise. If it's possible to
The
if I
the
was
network
just
is
trying to confirm if you
breaking. I
joined
can't hear you.
using your PC. That was what I was trying to ask. Is can you see my screen? I believe you can see my screen now. You can see my screen, right?
Yes,
Yes, we can see
yes.
your screen. We can see your screen.
Okay. So yeah, so this is an Excel interface, right? If at any point in time you can't hear me, just please let someone can kindly unmute to, let me know, because I'm sharing my entire screen and I can't see what's happening on the other side of things. So another confirmation that I'm clear, just needed that. So you can just, can someone speak? I can't.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, so I needed. Okay. All right. So this Excel, we are not new to it, right? And so let's just jump. I think we've used for 30 minutes now. So this is Excel, and many of us, we know Excel is a Microsoft package, and anyone who is, conversant with Microsoft package would have been familiar with, many of these toolbox. So there will not be any need trying to explain any of this. So we want to bring in our data, and one of the best parts is to, ensure to follow when loading our data set is to try to navigate to the data tab, right? And I'm going to come over to this data tab. Then when I come to this data tab, I'm going to come over to get data, right? And this is just a, trying to import the data that we are going to be using. So I'm going to click on this drop down and click on get data, right? And I'm going to select from file, because if you are saying from file, it means the data set you want to select is either of the type of Excel workbook, either it's a text or CSV, either it is an XML or JSON, right? So, and I think the data set is, I think it's a CSV. So I'm going to come over to CSV here and select text as CSV. So once I click on it, I'm expected to see, a window popping up that is going to, tell me to select the location where this, where the data is, situated. So, and I think mine is still in download. So I'm going to go over to download, and Mine, I think, is under this archive and this retail store data. So I'm going to select it and click on import. And the purpose of this is to have a more sophisticated tool, which is Power Query, that will help us manipulate, clean data, perform transformation that is needed. So I'm going to click on import and wait for the Power Query to come up. So I believe as we are doing that, we have persons who are also trying to practice what we are doing. So I believe we are following up to this extent.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I believe the pace, I'm not fast, and I just hope the pace is not fast and it's not slow. Another confirmation.
It's okay, sir.
All right. So I think subsequently, I also love to get feedback. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the voice of Oluwatobi, right? So it should also be an amazing thing to also get people, another person speak, right? So, and one of the things, that we need to ensure we do as data analysts is not to just load data directly into either be it the Excel workbook or be it Power BI, whichever thing we are doing, right? As a data analyst, you need to inspect to be sure if your data set is neat or not. So, to do that, I'm going to go over to transform. I'm not going to load, right? So I'm going to click on transform so that I can, have Power Query to be able to do that. So yes, this is, can you see the Power Query, right? You can see Power Query editor. So were we able to see the Power Query editor when I shared it?
No, sir. I didn't.
No,
Can't you
not
see
at
this?
all.
No, we didn't.
But can you see it now?
I can see your screen. How do we get to the bar query from our system?
Okay. So how I got to this place, right? Once you click on, okay, let me close this. Let me describe. So I came over to data, right? From your Excel, the first thing you need to do, don't open up the data, right? Just open your Excel workbook, right? Then open up a blank workbook, right? So once you open up a blank workbook, this is how it will look like. So what you
Okay.
now need to do, navigate to data, right? Once you
Yeah.
come over to this data, you select get data, right? And we have many options depending on where your data source is. So you have to use this from file if you know. Your data is an Excel workbook, it is a text or CSV, it's an XML and this like. If you are connecting to a database, you use this option to see other databases you can connect to. But because the data set we have is a CSV file, so I'm going to come over to from file, then I'm going to select from text slash CSV. Then once I click on it, this window, this window is going to come up. Then you now need to navigate to where the data set is, right? So mine, maybe if you open it up, this is how yours will look. So I needed to navigate to download because that is where mine is. So I open up this and I have the data set here. So I'm just going to simply click on import.
Okay.
So once I click on import, hope you got it up to this level.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So you are going to see something like this. I said it's not a best practice to always load a data set. So the best thing to always is to transform the data, right? So that you need to inspect by yourself, trying to see if everything is intact, right? So I'm going to click on transform.
All right,
So I click on,
Mr. Emmanuel. A quick one. Can you just explain the difference between when you load the data and when you transform in data, just for them to have the difference
Okay.
between load data and transform data. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. So if I had not clicked on transform, right, it won't bring me up to this Power Query editor. Once I click on load, it's just going to load it directly to the Microsoft Excel. So it's just going to load it up to this interface. Let me try to see. Um, this. So let me just. So if I clicked on load, it's just going to bring the data set inside this, workbook. Inside this worksheet, but you won't have access to, first time access to, Power Query Editor. So you clicking on load just means, okay, you want to begin your analysis. So that's what the load is for. So once you are sure that, maybe someone tells you that the data set is clean, that you can just work with it, then you can decide to click on load. But I've said it that is a best practice as a data analyst that in as much as you are sure that the data set is clean, try to inspect by yourself to be sure if actually it is clean. So I'm just going to come over it, and if I click on get data, come to this, uh, select the data. Um, so if I click on load now, so let's just try things out. So once I click on load, so you're going to see what's going to happen. So you see that, let's wait. So you see, it just brought in the data set inside the Excel workbook, right, without taking me to Power Query Editor. Right? So, but that's not what I wanted. So I wanted it to take me to Power Query Editor, and then I can now do some cleaning. So I can um, click on edit. So it takes me to Power Query Editor. So is that, I think, is the explanation clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
it
right.
is.
So now this is the data set we want to be working with. Now looking at this data set, we can agree with some of the things, right? So we all now, it's assume we all, let me not say assume, we all are data analysts because I, from what information I got, we have intermediate and we have expert. And so now looking at this, you will agree with me that the first row, the second row has no meaningful information, right? And we can see that it seems like the third row is like the column header, right? Like what tells us what each column stands for. You can see transaction ID, customer ID, category, and the likes, right? So I think let me just do a brief, explanation of this interface, right, before we begin. So this, we have this home, we have home that, has this close and load, has other, options, skip rows, remove rows, choose column. We have the split column, we have group by. So this split column is when you have uh, multiple values in a column, right? So one of the things that makes a data set clean is the fact that each column contains distinct, let's say, like each column contains, there are no two or more, features or values in a column. Now imagine you have first name and last name in a column, right? In as much, unless you are saying, okay, that is a full name, right? But we might want to, there could be analysis that you want to see if some particular names, if maybe you want to do analysis based on first name or last name of persons to see if there's any, trend that you can derive from it. So just ensure that a column doesn't hold two value. Now imagine a column holding, the name of a person and a phone number. That data set is messy. So split column is when you understand that, multiple values are in a column. So you want to split them to be distinct. So you use split column for that. Group by is when you want to, group by a categorical values and the likes. So this replace values is when you want to, you observe that maybe instead of them imputing 9, right, they imputed maybe, instead of it writing it in, numeric, they wrote it in words, and you want it to be numeric. So you use replace values to try to change, existing values, and this merge query append query. So You'll be exploring many of these, as you journey into data. So the essence of this class is to, spark our curiosity and to let us show us what is obtainable using Excel. So just let us have it that we can't learn everything right in 2 days, right? So, but we'll learn some of the things that we know we can build upon as we journey. So, looking at this now, I understood that these two rows doesn't have any meaning. So, the best thing for me to do is to remove this first and second row, right? So, how then do I do that? Looking at this, you can see that we have, I mean, value for keep rows and remove rows. Because I want to remove the first and second row, I'm going to come to this icon here, click on it. Then once I click on it, so you have option of remove top rows, bottom alternate, and the likes. Now I can see that these rows are the top. That's the top two. But this is the first, this is second. So, and I want to remove top rows. So out of these 6, the option I'm expected to choose is the first one. So I'm going to select the first option, which is remove top rows. Then a window, a little window is going to come up asking us we should specify the number of rows that we want to remove from the top. So now it is 2 rows that we want to remove, right? But let me say, for example, maybe I also want to use this to explain something else about under the applied step. So let me say, for example, maybe as a form of mistake, I mistakenly entered 4 instead of 2, and I clicked on OK. So when I did that, you can see that Power Query already removed both some information I didn't want to do, right? And the beauty of Power Query is just that it helps us keep a track of whatever we are doing. Can I just get a confirmation that we are following so that I can?
Yes, yes, we're following.
All right. So Power Query helps us to keep a track of whatever change and whatever transformation we are doing. And if you come over to the right hand side here, we can see query setting, we can see property, we can see applied step, right? So my focus will just be on this applied step. You can see that I removed top rows, right? And you can see here, it tells me that, what I did, right? I did remove top rows. So that tells us that what I did was removing top rows. Now, if you also observe under this applied step, we have 3 different actions that has been taken. The first one is the source. This is basically, about where this data is located. So if I click on this, what you are going to be seeing if I come here is where the document is located. So if I drop this down, you are going to see where the data set is located, which is under under the downloads, then the under archive, then this data set. So that's what this source does. And whenever we load data into Power Query, right, because of how intelligent it is, it tries to, based on some of the features it sees, maybe based on first 100 rows, it's going to, assign, data types to them, right? I believe you know what data type is. Just like an identity of what each column stands for. And some of the data types we have is text, we have numeric, we have Boolean and the like. So what this does is once you load the data set, these first 2 steps are always automatic, right? You load it, Power Query tries to look at the top 100 rows and see, okay, based on what I can see, I feel this is the correct data type, then it assigns it. And if you click on the second step, that is why you can see that it's assigned all of them. You can see the kind of data type it assigned to them, ABC. So this ABC beside each of these column names are the data type. And to understand what ABC stands for, if I click on ABC, I would see, you can see these are a lot of data types that you can use in Power Query Editor. So you can see the one for ABC says it's text. And you would see that in as much as for this, let me say for column 5, for example, there is 18.5, there's 29.0, there's 21.5. All these are numeric. But because it also found out that, okay, the first 2 row is empty. Another one has value, which is what's it called? Text value. So it is, and you cannot just assign, integer when there's a text value, but you can assign text to integer values, right? So it just automatically says, based on what I can see, provided there is already an alphabetical expression there, let's give it an alphabetical, data type. So that's why you can see that virtually everything there is, what's it called? Text data type, right? So now this was the one we did, removing top rows. Now what I want to explain is, can someone tell me what we are data analysts, right? So based on these 3 rows, can we notice anything? Looking at this source, looking at change type, looking at remove top rows, can anyone see something that is common and something that maybe you feel is different in any of them? Can anyone tell me?
Please, can you come again?
Okay, looking at this applied step, right? We have source, we have change type, we have remove top rows, right?
Yes.
Is there anything you notice that? Is there anything you see maybe some of these applied step has something another one does not have? Just look at this all these box. Look at this box. Is there anything you see that is, peculiar to maybe any of the
This is
applied step?
the name box.
No, this under this applied step. Okay. So that, do you notice that under source there's a gear, like a gear icon here? Can you see that?
Yes.
Under change type, there's no gear icon. Under remove top rows, there's gear icon. Can you see that?
Mm,
So whenever under applied step we see this J icon, right, what it tries to tell us is that we can modify whichever changes we made. We can modify them. So this J icon for source tells me that I can change the source of my data set, right? And I told us that this one is automatic. And even as that, change type are not something you can modify. You can only delete them, but you cannot modify, right? And you can see remove top rows. There's a J icon there which tells me I can modify. Now remember what I did. I removed the top 4 rows, but I was expected to remove 2 rows, but I mistakenly removed 4. So since I know that, okay, removing top rows could be modified, I can just come here and say, okay, I'm going to click on the J icon. Right. Once I click on the J icon, so the initial window I saw when I clicked on that action comes up, so you can see it is 4 that is there. So all I just need to do to modify that is to change it to 2. Right? If I change it to 2 and I click on OK, you can see that it modifies the initial action. So you can see that what I now have as the first row is now the column header. I don't know exactly.
yes, sir.
Right. So let me just switch. So I believe we are following me. I think it has been I think I want to get to hear from another person so I can be sure. I believe we have been following.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it has been Glory who has been, let me see who are those on the call. Okay, Adiola, Mr. Yomide, Ms. Taiwo, Samuel, Ayofe, and I believe Mr. Kelichi. Hold on, sir. So I believe we are getting 1 or 2. So that is one of the
Yes.
things that we should always have at the back of our mind when we are doing that. So I've modified that. So another thing I need to do to ensure, I'm getting closer to getting a clean data set. Looking at this first row, I can see this transaction ID, customer ID, category, item. All these are supposed to be at the top of this, where I have column 1, column 2, column 3, up to column 11. This is expected to be here. So this is what is supposed to be there. So what I now need to do, Power Query has an option of using the first row as header, right? Because maybe over time they found out that, okay, at some point, once you load the data set, it does not automatically gives it the accurate header. So they built in that. So if you look at this under this transform, you can see there's a use first row as header. So, and if I click on the drop down, I still have 2 options. Use first row as header, use headers as first row. So you use this one when you know that, okay, what you have in this first row is supposed to be the column header, right? And you use the second one when, let me say you have a CSV file and there's no column header attached to it, right? And maybe there is a, maybe when you are giving the data set, there is a data dictionary and there is the actual data set. Then the data dictionary points you to say, okay, the first column is this value, this is this, but the actual data set does not have those column attached to it. Now, maybe you could have loaded the data and Power Query automatically gives it the first, maybe the first value you see there, just give it as the column name. So you use this one. Once you use this, it brings down this column one. So if I use this option now, this column one, column two, and this like, they are going to become the first, row. So let's just try that. So I'm going to use header as first row. So you can see now that since I used that option, what did it do? It just did what? It's changed. What I now have as my, column one is different. So you can see it's demoted the header. So this applied step helps us to keep track of whatever change we make. And you can see demoted header is not something you can modify, but you can just simply cancel it. So, and you can see when we demoted the header, Power Query still try to say, okay, since we are removing, was the actual data type that was assigned based on the value. Now that you are demoting the headers, and you're adding more values to each of these columns, now it's still trying to say, okay, what is now the correct data type? That is why when we did data demoted header, it automatically still does a data change type. So, right, what I just did was just to tell us when to use headers as first row and the case where we can use headers as first row. So I'm just going to undo this too. So there's nothing like Control Z, right? So you can just basically come here and just click on cancel, right? To cancel that, I'm just going to click on this one to cancel it. So this is what I have now. The actual step I want to make was to use this first row as header. So I'm going to drop this down and click on use first row as header. So now it now assign it the accurate thing. So notice also that even when we promoted headers, right, you see it changed the time new for this transaction ID, because it found out that each of these values are alphanumeric, right? At least I can see alphabetical values here and numeric. So whenever there is an alphabetical value in a column, it automatically assign the text data type to it. So you can see transaction ID was given a text data type. Customer ID also, which also has mixture of alphabetical values as well as numerical values. So it was assigned the text data type. The category, right, which just has alphabetical values, you can see it gave it the text data type. The same thing is applicable to the item. Now for the price per unit, right, you can see because Power Query observed that based on the values it saw here, at least it saw numerical values throughout. So it's now assigned it data type, which is 1.2. So I'm just going to, this 1.2 is basically decimal number, right? And it has under quantity, it saw that the values there are numerical in nature and whole numbers. So that is why it just gave it the whole number data type since it didn't find decimal there. So total spent, right, was also assigned, a decimal. Payment method was assigned text. Location was assigned text. Transaction date was assigned a date time. A date, yes, a date data type. Discount applied was assigned a what's it called? Text data type, right? So what you will notice that whenever I click on a column, right, you are seeing some of these, you are seeing some overall statistic, right? So I'm just going to do an explanation of this so that we understand what is happening. Now, all this is what is called, you can easily put them off. If I put them off here, most time, in case if you, most time you could load your data into Power Query and you are not seeing anything like this, right? You're not seeing anything like this. So what you need to do, just know that you can come over to view.
Okay.
The quality of each of these columns. So if I check this on, so you can see that is why we are able to see valid values, error, and empty. So if this was not put on, you won't be able to see that. But because of I put this on, I was able to see out of 100% of values here, how many are valid, how many are errors, how many are empty, right? And something
something we also need to understand is this value it is giving us, it's not based on the complete data set. It is not based on the complete data set. I think the data set was actually is about 12,000 rows, something like that. But um, Power Query Editor is current by default. It's can we see below here? Can we look at can we see something below here?
Yes.
So can anybody see what's can we see this what's showing on this end?
Yes. Column for
So what does
finding.
what can someone just read it out so that I'm sure?
Column profiling based on top 1,000 rows.
Okay. So so it's by default, what it does is it tries to profile each of these based on the top 1,000 rows, right? So we can, if you are sure your system has the capacity to handle large data set, right, you can simply just click on it and change it to column profiling based on the entire data set, right? So I can do that because I'm sure the data set is not, too robust. So you can just change it from column profiling based on top 1,000 row to column profiling based on entire data set. Then you can now see, each of the statistic based on the entire data set. So, and I can see that for everything, for this is valid, 100% valid, 100% valid. So this one is 90% valid. 90% valid. This one is 95% valid, quantity is 95% valid, total spent is 95% valid. Um, okay, okay, sir. All right, sir, Kelechi, I think your hand is up.
I'm so sorry. That was I had my phone in my pocket. Sorry.
All right, okay,
But let me just ask a quick question. Is this recorded?
okay, sir.
Is this session recorded?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
And in addition, if you have a question, please kindly use the chat box and drop your question. Thank you.
Okay. So what we'll just be doing next, right, is to try to look at the column profile, right? So this column profile helps us to understand, column statistic and also have an overview of the values in the column. So I'm just going to, since I know these are valid, transaction ID should be unique, right? So you can see it here. So let me explain what this column statistic, what each of these says. So if you look at this count, right, this already tells us the value. Like I said, I think the values are 12,575 values we have there. So this count just tell you how many value, the number of rows you have in your data. And this error tells you how many errors you have. You can see based on this quality, we don't have any error. So the error is 0, empty is 0. So now, something that is important to understand is the difference between this distinct and unique. The difference between this distinct and unique. So now, distinct is trying to ask, the number you see here just tells you, okay, based on all the numbers you have there, how many values can you see? Like, let me say, for example, in this meeting now, we have two distinct, sex, which are the male and the female, right? So this distinct is just trying to tell you, okay, based on all the values you have, like what if you are trying to bring out, an occurrence, how many like which occurrence can you see? Let's say, for example, I have a basket that has 4 different colors of ball, right? Let me say we have maybe red. Let me say red ball has 2, right? Let me say yellow has 3, let me say green has 4, and let me say, let's just say another, maybe white has 1. Now, if you are trying to answer the question, how many distinct board do you have? It is 4, because we have, let me say, the red, the green, the blue, and the white. So these are the kind of boards you can see. At least once you put your hand and pick up a board, you will definitely pick a board that falls into these 4 categories. So that tries to explain distinct. Now, for unique, what unique now tells us is, out of these boards you can see, which of them occur only once. So once, the kind of board that occur only once would be counted under this unique. Now, to the example I made mention, let's say we have red, which is 2, we have green, which is 3, we have blue, which is 5, and white, which is 1. We have 4 distinct board, but 1 unique, which is the white that has only 1. So that is one of the things to use to differentiate between this distinct and unique. So this tells us that in this transaction ID, we have distinct, at least we have some occurrence, we have about 112,575 transaction IDs that occur. And out of these 12,575 IDs that occur, we still have 12,575 of them which occur once, which is something that we know it should be, because transaction ID is just like a primary key, right? By primary key, we mean it's a unique identifier. For example, in Nigeria, our national identification number is a unique identifier. No two person is expected to have a singular NIN. So same thing is applicable to this transaction ID. These are unique identifiers for the values you can see for every transaction. So, but if I come to customer ID, right, I can see, let me see. So it tells me that I have 25 distinct, but 0 unique. So it means out of the, let me say, we have about 12,575 records of transaction. And by this, I only know that it's only 25 customer that made transaction that amounted to this 12,575. So that is what this distinct tells us. And unique, which is 0, just tells us that okay, out of these 25, none of them occurred once, right? So that is it. And for category, right, I'm going to, why it just load. So count has already loaded, which is 12,575. So we can see 8 distinct category, 0 unique. So, and these are the categories: furniture, electric. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are the distinct, value distribution. So I'm just going to go over them for all the values. There's something I want to arrive at. So this item still has distinct, 201 distinct, no unique. So and I'm going to come over to price. This is just basically numbers. So same thing applicable to quantity. We have quantity that ranges from 1 to, I think, 1 to 10. I think 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So why you are seeing, I think why it's showing 11 distinct is because there's no, right? So we can see that there's no here. So at least no still represents something. So that's why it tells us 11 distinct, but you can only see 10 here. So total spent, we can also see, a long list of them. Payment method, by looking at this, we have just 3 basic payment methods: cash, digital wallet, and credit card. For location, we have just 2, which is online and in-store. Right now, transaction date would, we have 114 of them and just 1 unique, which means out of this 114 values, right, only one. That's what this shows us. So the last column we want to examine is this discount, right? And looking at this discount, we can see that we have 1, 2, we have 6. Okay, we have 6 different. We can see distinct. We have 6 distinct. What's it called? Values under discount, but it says 2 are unique. That means 2 out of these occurred ones. Now we can observe that the first one is true, the second one is false, the next one is F, the next one is T, the next one is true with a small letter T, the next one is false with a small letter F. We all understand that this F still means false, right? This false with a small letter F still means false. T with a small letter, true with small letter T still means true, and also this T just means true. So I intentionally did this to tell us how we can be able to replace values when we have situations like this. So what we are going to do, we are going to be small letter, this true with small letter, T with capital letter T, and this one with small letter to capital letter. So how do we do that? But eventually, when you come to your data set and you cannot see any of those occurrences, but you know it is existing, what you can do, the first thing we can do is, once you can see it, for example, I can see this one with small letter T, and I know I want to change it. What I can just do is I'll make sure I come over to that particular value and right click on it. So I'm going to locate that tree with the small letter T. Then I'm going to right click on it. When I right click on it, I'm then going to click on replace values. So once I click on replace values, a window comes up, and in that window, and when this window comes up, what I just need to do, since I know I want to replace it with capital letter T, small letter R, U, and E. So I'm going to type it in and now click on OK. So we can see it has been replaced and it has been added to an applied step. I believe we're able to follow up to this level.
Yes,
Okay, so we are going to do the same thing for the false with a small letter F. So I'm going to right click on it, click on replace values. Then I'm going to write with a capital letter F, then ALSE. Then I'm going to click on OK. So the ones I want to do next is converting the F and T. So I'm going to use the other method that we can use. I can see the F here. I can see the T.
Mr. Emmanuel,
yes,
just a quick one. I think for the find and replace, we can also do that using the icon home. When you go to the home, then we can easily get the find and replace, just like having two ways of doing it. Do you get what I'm saying? Hello?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you repeat what the last thing you said?
I'm only just trying to tell Mr. Emmanuel that just like an alternative, there's other way of you doing find and replace. You can easily get that using the home button. Then you just hit find and replace when you click on the column you want to work on. Do you get that, Mr. Emmanuel?
Yeah, that was the second. I think I made mention of that we are going to use the second option to replace this F and T. So that was what I don't know if you had me. So
thank you.
For the second option is home, right? Click on the replace, right? And one of the things that why using if you're able to get the value, why right clicking is always a good thing to do, right? Is I've seen situations whereby looking at the data based on the data, what's it called, distribution, right? There could be leading or trailing white space, and the system understand when there's a leading or trailing white space, it reads it as a different value, right? And your eye might not be able to see if there's a trailing white space, right? And if you just only type in the value without a trailing white space, you won't see it if being affected, right? So that's another thing to always have at the back of our mind. So, but this does not have that issue. So I'm just going to come over to replace. I'm just going to click on replace values. Then this window comes up. And because I clicked on this, so I'm going to select this and just type in F. No, it's not going to find it in this column. So you need to select the column. Right, this is the column I want to do. Find and replace. Then you need to first of all select the column, then click on replace values. Then you click on replace value, then you type in the value. I'm going to type in capital letter F, then type in capital letter FALSE, right, and click on OK, right. So you can now see something is happening. So even whenever it sees F, it's now replaces um um you can see what happened here now. This one is saying, false or so, because anywhere it sees that F, it replaces it with, false. So what I'm just going to do is this. So I'm going to undo this guy. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to replace all false, right? I'm going to replace all false. I'm going to replace it with F, right? So, and when I click on OK, right? So all false have been replaced with F. And once I click on this, I can see F and T. So I'm going to do the same thing for true, because if I just anyway see T in that column, I'm going to click on replace true with T, right? And once that is done, so I now have T and F. So I can now say, okay, for all the T, now replace them with true, right? So this is going to, so since you understand how the system thinks, right? These are ways you could just counter whatever is happening. So I'm going to say replace this with false. Then I say, okay, I think an is raised. Okay, sir.
So quick one. I have a question, right? I think there was something I really didn't get clearly when you were trying to explain distinct and unique. What is like the unique distinction between unique and distinct? Like, what is one thing that we should always watch out for when trying to explain it?
Okay. What this distinct just tells us is, let me see, for example, in this, let me see, for example, in this discount, if we have, okay, I use the analogy of a ball, right? Let me say a basket has, let me say 10 balls, and I know we have the red color, we have the blue color, we have the green color, and let me say we have the yellow color. Now I know in the basket we have 4 types of ball, and let me say they are 10 in number. So distinct, it's how many, if I'm asked a question, how many distinct ball do I have in that basket? It's going to be 4, because I know, okay, in the basket I can see a green ball, I can see red, I can see yellow, I can see green. So these are the kind of balls I can see. So, but provided I dip my hand inside the basket and pick up a ball, I'm to pick in any ball I'm going to pick will fall into any of this category: red, green, yellow, or blue. Now, let me now say, out of these 4 balls, and which are 10 in number, red is 2, green is 3, yellow is 4, then blue is 1. Now, you can see that out of them, which one, the one that stands unique is, for unique here means which out of all these values you can see, how many of them just occurred once. So that falls under the category of unique. So if you come to this payment method, you can see that distinct is 0 unique, because each of these, out of the undervalued payment method, any of the transaction will definitely fall into any of these 3 categories. And we can see that none of them occur just only once. But if you come to this transaction ID, right, we can see that distinct is 12,575, unique is 12,575, which means if you look throughout this transaction ID column, you would see any value, you definitely see one out of the value that falls into this 12,575. And out of this value, each of them occurred once, right? For customer ID, you can see that for every transaction, this thing tells us that it is 25. So 25 customers are responsible for all these transactions. Just 25 out of this 12,575 customers ID. We just only have 25 of them that are, at least we know it was 25 persons that made up all these transactions. And you can see out of these 25 persons, none of them made a single transaction. That is why under unique, it is 0. So unique just means how many of these occurrences just happened once. Distinct means under this feature, which value can you see. So I don't know if that explains it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay. So we have changed that for discount. So we now have true, false, and we have empty. Right. So transaction date is in its accurate data type, and payment method is an accurate data type. So total spent, quantity, and item. So one thing we would be doing, right, is because I try to skim through the data set, and you would see that these three columns, right, price per unit and total spent has to do with money, right? And one thing that is important to make is to ensure that we use the correct data type for a column. Now, if we drop down this column, we would see that we have decimal number, we have currency, we have whole number, right? Okay, I think we should be able to, transform it to. But if this was in Power BI, there is this currency is the same thing as is always fixed decimal, right? So you use this when you are sure that that column has to do with money, right? So I know that total spent has to do with money, so I can going to convert it to currency, and I'm going to convert this price per unit to also currency. I could also right click, change type, select currency. So there are many ways to go about it. I can either click on the icon, then select currency, or come over to the column, right click on it, then come to change type, then select currency. Anyway works. So that's another thing we can do. So one thing I would want us to do now is looking at this total spent. Now let's try to go over it. You can see once we multiply this 18.5 times 10, we always get total spent, right? When you multiply this times this, you always get a value. Now, and if you should just try scrolling down, I'm trying to see for values where, okay, let me just try to click on this. So in case if you want to, there's something I want to do. In case if you want to create a filter, let me say you're working with the data and you are not interested in some, segment of the data. Maybe if it's a yearly data, you want to exclude some years out of your analysis, you can just come over here, click this drop down, then select, come over to this place. You can see these are the values you can see there. So if you uncheck any one of them, you won't see them. So I'm going to uncheck select all. I want to only see the null values for this particular column. So I'm going to click on null. And if I click on OK, it's just going to bring in values where there is null. So, and I can see that whenever there is a null here, it means the quantity is not known. So we can see that for every null we have here, there is no quantity attached. So, right, so which tells me that, okay, since there's no quantity, it's only the price I know and there's no quantity, it might mean that sale was not done and I can't just get the quantity, there. So what we are going to do, I'm going to clear this filter, and in the data we are going to use, I'm going to remove null values from this total spent. So I'm just going to come here and just click on, I'm going to uncheck this null. So what this is going to do is, in the data set I'll be working with, they are not, the null values are not going to be there. So I'm just going to click on OK and exclude the null values from the analysis. And doing that, you can see that we now have 100% valid. We have 100% valid in quantity and total spent. Now, and if you see under this total spent, right, there is a funnel icon there. This tells me that there is a filter, there's a filtering that was done on this column, right? I believe you are following up to this level. Now, as data analysts, now look at something that is happening. We've filtered out nulls from the total spent, and we can see that the quantity doesn't have null values, but we can see that the price still has missing value. Now, I know that once I know the total amount that was spent on a let me say on a goods or whatever, and I know the quantity that was spent, you would know that if I should divide the total spent by the quantity, I'm expected to get the price per unit, right? So One of the things we'll be doing is how can we create, this is like what is called feature engineering, right? You're trying to create a new feature based on the existing feature. Now I could just say, okay, I want to create, since I know there are null values here. So I can just try to say, okay, I'm going to create a column that what this column is going to do for me is you are going to do, you are going to divide the total spent by the quantity, because I know if I do 185 divided by 10, I should have 18.5. If I should do 261 divided by 9, right, I should get 29. If I should do this divided by this, I should have this. Now, so for this number 6, so if I should do 200 divided by 10, I'm expected to have, what's it called? Let me see, 20, right? Now, another thing now to see, to also pay attention to is, if I should do that, now look at this. For the item column, there are no values. So I think the reason why the null are here, so I'm just going to do an experiment. I'm going to select the values where these prices are null and see if actually what was it called, it's equivalent to the null values in this item. So I'm going to come to this drop down, select all, then just select only the null to see what is happening. So I'm going to click on OK and see, okay, for every time there is a null here, so definitely there is also null items, right? And it's about 609 of them. So I'm going to undo this step. And now what I'm going to do now, we are in data cleaning. So different persons have different approaches to data cleaning. And that is why it is important that whenever you are doing your analysis, you are documenting things, right? So that you tell them, okay, this was what I did when I saw this missing value. Because so that they are informed, okay, oh, the reason why we are seeing this is because of we excluded some parts of this data, right? So, but one thing I'm going to do is I'm still going to drop the null value, but what I want to teach us, what I want us to learn now is how we are able to, how we can create a new column out of an existing one. So this filtering I did here initially have been that's deleted. So I'm going to exclude the null values, right? Now, I'm going to create a new column that is going to do a division of this total spent and quantity so that we learn and know how to do that. So to do that, what I'm just basically going to do is I'm going to come to add column. I'm going to come over to add column. And basically, most of these things are just descriptive. It just tells you, okay, this is what you want to do. They have, designed the interface in a way that is descriptive enough. So, and the kind of column I want to do is, I want to divide total spend by quantities to derive this price per unit column. So I'm going to come over to, so we have different kind of ways you can create column. You have the column, from example, custom, invoke, and the likes. So what you're going to do is to just create a custom column, because this will help you create a column based off a formula that you want to write. So I'm going to click on custom column, and it's going to tell me I should put in the column name I want. So I'm going to call it, because this one already is price per unit. So I'm just going to say price. So I'm going to come over here, highlight the new column name and say price. I'm just going to say per underscore units, right? Now, this is now where you now write the formula. So I'm going to click on this inner box, right? This is where we have this custom column formula. I'm going to click on it. Now, what I want to do is to divide total spend by quantity. So, and look at the available columns we have here. I'm going to click on total spend, click on it, then click on this insert. Once I click on it, it brings it in here. So for currently, you can see it's telling us that there's no syntax error detected, right? But if I should write rubbish, or let me just say, you can see it already automatically tries to tell you what is happening. So I'm going to say divided by, I'm going to use the slash sign, right? Then bring in quantity, then click on insert. So you can see it means that this formula is pronoun, it doesn't have error. So I'm going to say okay, right? So you can see that this has been calculated, and I can just drag it closer to, let me just drag it closer to the price per unit to just make some comparison. So I'm just going to drag it here. So now I can see This is 18.5, this is 29, 21, 27, this. So where this one was null is 20. You can see 5, 27. You can see that they are related, they are, equivalent, right? So now, another thing that we can do, right, is to also try to examine if that's like data dictionary or metadata is always important, right? Metadata is going to tell you more about the data, right? It could be that item data, maybe item one food is basically 5, and maybe that there is no item that is having the same amount, right? If it says that, so you can easily know that, okay, now for this one that is missing that I don't know, but I've gotten it to be 27.5, right? So, and I can see that from the look of things, there is a 27.5 here that I know it is, belong to the item 16 FUR, furniture. That should be for furniture. Now, so it might mean that anytime I see, I mean, any value of price per unit 27.5, and because of I know it is not, the item is not yet good, I can say it is item, okay, I can say it is item 16 or something. But you can see we can't say that because item 16 milk is 27.5, item 16 furniture is also 27.5. So, but I know that, okay, this price per unit is actually 27.5, and it will either fall in any of this category. So you can see some of the things you can always do. And for me, what I would do now is this: to avoid conflict, right? To avoid conflict, so I don't try to fill in with one value and it's not so. So since I know that the item is not known, something I can do is just what, drop these values, but I will communicate it to either the stakeholders that, okay, this is why I did this, because there are conflict of values. We have two items that are of the same price, and I already know that for this missing value, this is the price. But because I can't ascertain where it belonged to, right? And I now decided to remove them, right? Or you can still decide to say, okay, since I know these two belong to, they're having the same price, let me just try to look at, how can I relate the quantity, right? Now, looking at item 7.5, the quantity is 2. Also, I think I saw one that was 10, something around that. Okay, now, okay, this one is 10. Let me see if I see item 16. Okay, you can see it seems all item 16 are of the same amount. See another item 16 being 27.5. So it seems once there's an item 16 attached to it, prefix of item 16, then the value is at 27.5. So there are different categories of this thing, this item. So to be on the safer side, right, I'm just going to drop the values of these missing values. So I'm going to click on item, then uncheck where there's blank to remove the blank values. Then I'm going to click on OK. Then once I click on OK, I can see that there are no missing values there. So I'm just going to drop this initial column I created. The purpose of creating that is just to tell us how we can try to create a custom column. So I'm going to right click on this column and come over to remove and click on remove column, and I have that column removed. So I'm just going to get feedback so far before I try to continue as I round up, because I wouldn't want us to. So basically today I want us to a large extent finish the data cleaning, and so that tomorrow our focus would be on maybe we'll begin the process of doing the data visualization, but we'll go in depth tomorrow. So can I just get the feedback if we have been able to get learn one or two so far?
So let's kindly give our feedbacks before he moves on, before he continues. Our feedbacks to, I believe we are all learning.
Yes, sir. I've learned a lot personally, especially on those distinct and unique values. And I've been able to notice some new icon on Excel also.
Okay, that's nice. Should I start calling names? I have many people here. Should I start calling names? Let's pick up before it continues. Though it will soon round up. It's almost 9. We have 30 minutes left.
Okay, I believe many of us are shy.
Mr.
Yeah, I'm also shy, so let's let me just
Right.
I think Mr. Kelechi has spoken today. Some persons have not even
That
have not even heard their voice. Maybe they are bots. I just hope they are not bots.
is Mr. Kelechi here with us?
Yeah, yes, I'm still here, but I'm
We should
multitasking
confirm
on
if they
so
are not
many things.
chatbots.
The thing is, the only joy I have is it's being recorded, so that at least I can still have access to it and review it over and over again. Another thing also I noticed is this pretty much looks like the same interface with Power BI. Is it because it's Microsoft?
Yes, but Microsoft Power BI and Microsoft Excel has this Power Query editor that is peculiar to both of that. They are both in Power BI and Excel. So that's what Microsoft did.
Okay. Because I noticed I was playing around Power BI and I noticed that you could still Power Query and do the same thing on Excel. That kind of makes it interesting.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that observation. So for anyone who has made use of Power BI would find this, interesting, and also would understand a lot of things that we are seeing. So
And
Mr.
and um,
So I think so that we can be able
so
to reach some
are you here with us? Probably 15 minutes to 9. So we can take question and answer.
all right. So let's just try to so yeah, we have done we have removed that and have cleaned up so for this discount applied, right, where we are seeing no here could mean that whenever there's no, maybe where there's missing value, so it means maybe no discount was applied. So we can easily say, decide to fill the missing values to false, right? Because true means discount was given, false means no discount, and if there's no value, then definitely we can't say a discount was given. So just one thing to always notice anytime you are doing a data analysis, there's a need to document so people understand what action was taken out, which resulted to which value we are seeing. So I'm going to come here and replace all the missing values with, false. So I'll just right click here and say replace values. So I'll just come here and say false. Then I click on OK. Right. So think that is it. They see another transformation we will do, but I want us to go back so that peradventure maybe you did it, you are done with your transformation, you think you are done. Like I said, data cleaning is an iterative process, and you might think, okay, there's a need for you to go back. How then do you go back to Power Query Editor? So once you are sure you are done, and I've checked, okay, no missing values, all the columns are clean. Like we can see, they are 100% valid, no errors, right? To a large extent. So what I'm going to do is to try to close. So you come back to your home. So you close and load, right? So you come to this drop down and click close and load, right? It should have been because of I think I went back. That is why normally it should have been close and load to, right? And it's going to tell you where you want to load it to. So if this your close and load to is active, you could click on it and specify where you want to load. So I'm just going to click on close and load. Then it comes here because initially I loaded this, right? I loaded this, then I went back to Power Query. That's why it's not telling me where. But for other persons that you would see the close and load tool will be activated, right? So you just select that and select the notebook you want it to load it to. So and once you load it, it's going to look like a table, right? And you can see the table now as a structure, right, which is clean, and it tells us now we have 11,362 rows, right? So now, in case you did a data cleaning, right, and you feel there's a need for you to go back to your Power Query to still do something, which we now do now. Now, I'm done, but I want to try to transform this transaction date column to have maybe, month of the year, right, like January, February, March, and maybe day of the week, because I might want to see if some, if their transaction or amount spent, if they are peculiar to some days of the week and the like. So to go back to your Power Query editor, you come over to this query and coordination, you right click on it. So once you right click on it, you just click on edit. So once you click on edit, it takes you back to Power Query editor. So, and which is what I now have here. So from here now, what I want to do, like I said, the transformation I want to do, I want to extract, the month from this column and also day of week. So how do I do that? One thing that is always a best practice and which we always do is especially for those who always for those into coding aspect of analysis, they will always say is before you do any data cleaning, is important or is the best practice to first of all create a copy of the data set so that in case if anything goes south, you still have access to the original document, the original data. So what I'm going to do for this transaction is I'm going to duplicate it and still retain this one. So I'm going to right click on it and click on duplicate. I'm going to click on duplicate column, right? So it creates a copy of it. So I'm going to duplicate it, let me say twice, right? So I'm going to click on it again and say duplicate, right? So this first one is going to be for transaction month, right? And this one is going to be transaction day of week. So how then do I transform it from this transaction date and to day of week or to month? You come and right click on this. So once you right click on the column name, you are going to see transform. So you come over to transform, right? Since I want to get the month of that particular year, so I'm going to, is it the month I want to? Okay, yes, the month. So I'm going to come over to the month, right, and just come over to name of month. So this is just going to get out, January, February, March, and the like. So I'm going to click on it, and you see, like you can see here, this is the 8th of April 2024. This 23rd of July. So you can see it has already gotten those name of months. So all I just need to do now is to just rename this transaction date, copy to transaction name of month. So I'm going to double click it and say, so double clicking to do that, just double click to rename. I'm going to say transaction, month. Let me say transaction months. I click on enter. So you can see it has changed. So I'm going to transform this one now to day of week. I'm going to come over to the column name, right click on it, come over to transform, come over to day, right, and click on name of day, right? Click on name of day, then it's transforming from Monday, Tuesday, and the likes. So you can see it has transformed this to, day of week. So I'm going to change this from transaction date to double click on it to change, or you can simply right click on the name, then come over to rename below here, then click on rename, then you now type transaction day and click on enter. Now I see I've extracted transaction day and transaction month. Now I'm done. I'm just going to click on close and load. But something we might be doing or you will be learning, right, in case just to say it peradventure, if it's escapes the mind of persons, is there are cases when you load data, right, and there could be unprintable characters, there could be leading or trailing white space. One thing that is always important to do is what we call trimming and cleaning, right? And trimming and cleaning is always done on text data, text column. So when you have text column, right, you just need to ensure that you trim and clean them. The trimming is going to remove, leading or trailing white space, because if you have space, then you have true. It's different from when you have true, and it's different from when you have true and a space that is ended. So these are three different values. So, but when you do a trim and clean, especially if you do a trimming, it's going to remove those white space and ensure that you have the same values there. It's not applicable to this, but the data set you would do, you would see that you'll be when you're looking at it, when you click on the column and you are seeing, okay, I can see furniture here, but you are still seeing another furniture that has capital F and is complete, but it's still seeing it as a different variable. It could be because it could be there's a leading or trailing white space. So it is important to always trim and clean the column to ensure that leading white space are exempted, or are removed, trailing white space are removed. So the way to do that is to select all the text column. So I'm going to select all the text column from this 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to since I want to select this first four, I'm going to hold on shift and click on it. Then it automatically selects all the columns in between. So is there any other text column? So I can still hold on this guy, right? Hold on control to select. So I'm going to hold on control again to select this location. So I want to select all the text column. So anyone that has ABC, right? So the last one I want to select, okay, this, I know it's true, but I'll just select it, select this guy. Now I've selected all the text columns, so I can just do a trimming and cleaning. So I'm just going to come over to transform, and I'll come over to this transform here, and you will see under this format, it is now format. So I'm going to click on format, then you can see a trim and clean. So trimming is going to remove leading or trailing white space, right? So I've trimmed it. I'm still going to come over to format again and select clean. So what this is going to do, if there is leading or trailing white space that is existing, it is going to remove them. So we have done that. And once I'm done, I believe I'm ready for my visualization. I'm going to come over to my home and click on close and load. Then I'm going to wait for it to, refresh. So, so it has loaded successfully. So to continue, I want to just create a new sheet. I'm going to come over to this sheet 1 and rename it to what I will say analysis. I'm going to say, call it analysis, right? So this is where I'm going to be creating the pivot table that we'll be using for our analysis. So the first thing I want to do, I want to understand what I want to do. Let me see, the total amount spent by payment method, right? What's the total amount spent by each payment method? So I'm going to come over to analysis, right? And click, let me come over here and select insert, right? I'm going to say insert pivot table, right? Now I'm going to say from table range, right? And you should put it into new worksheet, right? And you should add this to data label, to data model rather. And I'm going to click on OK. So I'm going to click on OK. So it's going to, so let me wait for it. So let me delete this and let me delete this and rename this sheet to data, analysis. Now, under this pivot table, right, like remember what I want us to do is trying to see our payment method, the total amount spent by payment method. So I can just automatically, one thing you can do is to automatically check the box to allow it to help you to automatically fill in which one should be in value. Total spent is expected to be in value because this is numerical value, and that is why there's a summation sign to tell you values should be here, should be numerical in nature. So, but if I automatically click total spent, you see it is intelligent enough to fix it into values, right? And if I click payment method, it should definitely put it into rows. So I will just click on payment method. So you see it automatically puts it into, the right, what's it called? Box. So this is payment method. So we can see is digital wallet seems to be, is it 246. So cash is the highest and the likes. So another thing now, another pivot table I want to do before I start entertaining questions. So I wouldn't want to be going back to the, this main data set to insert. So I'm just going to copy, part of the pivot table. I'm just going to click on copy. I'll come over here and just come below here and just paste it and click on escape. So I have another pivot table here. I will just simply remove each of these ones. So I'm going to come and drag this guy out. So I have a pivot table again to use. So I'm going to come over here and say, I want to check total amount spent by transaction month. So I'm going to click on transaction month, then I'll click on total amount spent. So I have seen that, right? So for this one, let me give this thing a good name so that in case when I want to apply my filter, so I know which of them I'm. So I'm going to come over to pivot table analyze, right, and come over to this pivot table. Then I'm going to come to this box to rename it, right? So I'm going to rename this. This is a total spent. I'm just going to call it total spent by I think that was payment method, by payment method, right? So I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to come and rename this one to come over to pivot table analyze. Come to this pivot table, right? Come over to this name, then call it total spent spent by month. So the last thing I would do before I open up, I stop and answer question is to try to, looking at this, you would see that this was arranged alphabetically, right, from A to C to D to this. But we know that there is a sequence to this month, which is January, February, March, up to the last. So how then do we order this, right? So to do that, I'm going to come over to this row label, right? So I have this drop down icon. I'm going to click on it. So once I click on it, I can see sort A to Z, sort Z to A. So I'm going to click on this more sort option. So I'm just going to click on more sort option, right? So it's always in data source order, right? So I'm going to click on ascending A to Z, right? Now by transaction month, I'm going to click on more option, come over to more option, right? I'm going to uncheck this guy, right? Then come over to this guy and select January, February, March, right? Then I'm going to click on OK. Then I click on OK. So now you see it now automatically arranges it from January up to December, so that once I create a line chart, right, for it, it is going to do the ordering based on the month. So I think we are 14 minutes at the top of the hour. So I'm just going to open up the floor for question, contribution, feedback. I just believe we're able to get. So let me just save this. Okay, I'll save. Let me save. Click on save. Let me save it to desktop. Okay, I already have. So I'm going to see day one. So I'm going to click on save. So I already have it saved. So now I think I can entertain our questions this from now on. If we have any question, we can ask. Contribution, feedback. I believe okay. Yeah, Tolulope, you can unmute and ask.
Good. Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I just have a question before you move to the pivot page, where you were on that column where you did the true or false on the blank columns. Before you move, yes, before you now.
Okay.
Yes, so my question is, in a situation whereby you have a blank column like that, and you said based on that you had to put false. How do you? My question is that what if the error? The answer is not supposed to be false, if it's not null, as you said, would that disrupt the whole data that they have imputed earlier on, or how do we use it discretionally? Because you just said it's supposed to be null because it's empty, but in situation you gave a case scenario and you now said based on that it should be false. So that place got me a bit confused.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Mr. Samuel,
So
in
I don't
addition
know.
to, all right, Mr. Samuel, Mr. Emmanuel rather, in addition to that, can we call that data manipulation?
Okay. All right. I think if I get the question right, it's initially we only had true, false, then missing values, right? The question is
Yes,
why did I go that route of filling it with false, right? What is the another option that we could take, right?
yes, because since is we have two options, either true or false.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to use false? I think that should be the question. So why
Okay.
did you decide to use false? Is it going to help when they are analyzing the data to say, okay, when you now go further, you will see maybe the false is having more. So why did you just use false? That's the question.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for that question, Tony. Okay. Right. I think during this session, I did make mention. Definitely, if you're working on a project, right, if you're working on a data set, there is a problem you want to solve, and to solve this problem, you source for the data set. It could be given you through maybe a company, right? Now, you've observed a missing value in this column. The first thing I would do if in real life scenario is to reach out to whoever give. If I wasn't the one who sourced the data set, right, I'm going to reach out to the company to say, okay, this particular column, I could see it has two values, and I know, okay, when you say discount applied, true means there's discount, false means there's no discount, right? And observe some are missing, right? They could say, okay, missing could mean um, um, false. But one of the things I that made me decide to fill it with false is, now let's assume we are giving a questionnaire, and um, let me assume I give out a questionnaire now, and I say, okay, your name. The person fills it in, right? And I said uh, numbers of cars. Let me just say something like that. Let me say numbers of houses or in a particular location, right? The person didn't fill it in, right? For other information, there are values there. And if I understand, right, and though the approach could be wrong, but I know there is a large percentage of being right. If you ask someone a question and there's no answer to it, it definitely means the person does not have an answer to give. Now, in a column that is discount applied and nothing was indicated, it could mean, like, no means there's no value that is there. It could maybe, I can say no what was it called? If this was a question, I could say no answer given. I could just try to segment that part, right? But for this purpose, I just said, okay, since has to do with discount, and I know that, okay, for other values, there is a price, there is a quantity and the likes. I said, okay, since for this value, nothing was imputed here, it could mean no value was applied. No discount was applied. That was what led me to making that. But some of the things I could do is to, okay, try to find out, maybe reach out to whoever gave me the data set and say, okay, this is the problem I'm seeing. And this is it. Why is it so? If the person can't say, I can say, okay, if we could have these values and this one is missing, and most times if something is blank means there's no answer. It could be that there's no, is as good as no, right? Is as good as no. So that was what I did. But in situations, the best thing to do is to try to reach out to know, or try to find online, right? I think for this one now, you can see I did something in this total spent, right? Whereby there are some that has missing value. Then I decided to say, okay, there are some I could manually fill. I could create some formula to fill. Since I know once I have total spent, I know quantity, I could get price per unit. I was able to get those values, right? Even though they were missing, I was able to get them since I understand from the data set that combining these two columns could give me this result. Now I have gotten those values, but I can't get this item right now. They are missing values in the item, but I already have their values for the price per unit. Now I would have said, okay, let me look at what is playing around the data. I saw that, okay, especially for the one with 27.5, I could see, let me ask, the first one I could see is, let me see, maybe item 16 beverage. Now it is 27.5. I could say, okay, since I know the price per unit at 27.5 and I don't know the item, let me fill with item 16 beverage. But if you try to look to still drill down and observe, you still see that this item 16.4 is still 27.5. Item 16 milk is 27.5. So it now seems as though those having prefix of item 16 are having the same price per unit. Now you can't just go and fill with just one out of them, right? So now these are some of the things to do when you have missing values, is to understand which approach you have to do. Most people say, let me just fill with, mean, which might not be right? But you need to understand why it is missing, what best approach to do. Now, for me, I know that, okay, since I know we have conflict of about 4 different items with missing value, I can't just outrightly fill with one and exclude the other. That's being biased to one of these items. So I could still reach out to wherever I got data, say, okay, this is what I saw, and this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm thinking can be done. You just need to brainstorm and say, okay, what is the best approach? Not to favor any side. You can say, okay, let's drop wherever there's missing values. So I just, hope I was able to, answer the question. Can I get a confirmation if
Yes,
you
thank
got
you
it?
very much. Yes.
All right, thank you so much for that. So I don't know if there are any other questions. I think we have 5 minutes.
All right,
So
any
it's not
other
a quick one, right?
question?
Yeah, this is a quick one. In situations where you reach out, right, and for some reason there's no concrete response to, like, there's no cogent reason to why this particular data is missing, how do you improvise that situation?
Okay, all right, thank you so much, sir, for that question. So, situation whereby whoever you reached out to don't have anything to say about it. That's why I think there's a saying that says, give a data to 10 data analysts, you see different results, right? This is because the way they think towards the data or towards a problem differs, right? And that is why the need to always document whatever thing. The process is always important. Like I said, if I drop this column, I need to state it. During the track cleaning process for this particular feature, there are missing values. Because I don't want to favor any side or not to, introduce errors into this, right? I decided to drop this down, and dropping down is also, something we still need to understand is the level of, null values that is there. Now, this value, the original data was 12,000, I think 575. Now, if for a particular column, the level of what's the first valid, right? If the percentage of valid is not up to, a reasonable amount of percentage, let me say 70, 80. Just imagine you load a particular column just as 5% valid value. I know that there is no how I'm going to make use of that data, because of that column, I could decide to drop, because 5% being valid, 95% are empty. There's no how you try to fill with a value that you will not favor, a particular, what will I say, variable or label along the line. So one thing to know is to know at what percentage of, missing values are there. If the percentage is something minute, like 5%, that you know that once you drop them, it won't impact your data. You could drop them and still document, okay, this is what I did. I removed this to still ensure that I minimize error. You could still say, okay, if you can't drop, you want to see, using any of the central tendency, which the best one for numerical value is the mean, right? You can say, okay, well, let me try to fill in these missing values with the mean. You see documented it, that you still need to document that, okay, I filled this feature with the mean because it's a central, it's a measure of central tendency, not to, use any other, some statistic that it would be favorable to a particular category. So anything we are doing, just try as much as possible to document it, because results will vary. If no one just document and we just do the analysis and we bring results, you would see someone might have value that is different from your own, because the approach the person took to arriving that result differs from our own. If I had given us this data set and said, okay, go and work on it, just choose any measure, any method of data cleaning, data filling, anything you want to do, any data manipulation, we would be seeing different results. But by the time we now go through the documentation, we will now understand, okay, this is the approach this person took, and that is why he arrived at this answer. So that is why documentation is key. I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question, sir.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I don't know, maybe I'm asking too much question. In situations where you're like profiling data, like data profiling, how do you observe or notice what an outlier in a particular data set is? Like, can you just take a look at it there and say, no, I don't think this is supposed to be this particular thing, and you reach out to those people? How do you, like, is there like anything you watch out for when you're profiling a data set? Hello?
So I think my network, I was unable to
I don't,
speak,
okay,
but I
I
think
don't
I
know.
had outlier.
Did you get my question?
No, can you come again? I think the network.
Okay, so
interrupted.
I know
Can you just come again, sir?
I know during like data gathering, data requirement gathering, documentation, there's also a concept called data profiling, right? Where you take a look at a particular like spreadsheet, and you look at the spreadsheet, you skim and scan through the spreadsheet. Is there like any concept or idea that will make you look at a particular data set and say, okay, this particular thing right here seems to be like an outlier? You see how you watch out for null values, right? Or you watch out for empty columns or tables. Is there like anything that you're looking at for and say, okay, this might actually be an outlier that will encourage you to want to reach out to the owner of the data set to ask questions? Like, is there like anything you watch out for in that regard? I'm trying to like simplify my question in a way, but I don't know if it's too kind of complex somehow.
Okay, the network was trying to, but can you hear me, sir? I believe can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me too?
Yes. Okay. I think if I'm able to pick, something, I think the question revolves around the same way we're able to see null values, right? Is there any way we can decide, okay, based on from this column, this is an outlier? Is that the question, sir?
Exactly. That's better put. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think whenever a data set is given, there is what is called I think data dictionary or a metadata that tells us, okay, this is what what is supposed to be seen. Now these values should be between this range. Now, for instance, I know that trying to see an example. Let me say in an industry, okay, let me say in the finance industry. Now, we all know that we can assign negative to, what's it called? To, money, right? So nobody is going to tell me that I have minus 10 billion naira, right? Or no one is going to tell me that I am minus 5 years old, right? So now let me say, for example, I think it's also applicable to, let me say, the oil and gas industry, whereby a particular feature, or let me say, for example, correlation, for example, we know the value of correlation is always between 0 and 1. And let me say something was done and there is a column for correlation, and we are seeing values that is maybe 2 or the like. So we would definitely know. And most times in analysis, one of the things that would definitely help to get, a reasonable insight is domain knowledge, right? You can't just do an analysis. If you want to do an analysis in finance, it's important to have someone with a domain knowledge that knows, okay, for this feature, these are the permissible values. When you see something that is outside this bracket, it's not something to be seen. So, and one of the things to always do is, I think for numerical values, doing a scatter plot is something important. Is at least it will show values that are extreme, right? Or trying to, now imagine that someone is trying to say something that could be like an outlier is or some out like something that just out of normal. Now, someone who is a, let me say, let me say, we collected a demographic data and someone says, I am, let me say, 12 years old. And in terms of age, data cleaning it's so robust and is restrictive. Now, an outlier could be, or something, a messy data could be someone who is telling me that he's 12 years old, is now having, let me say, 6 children, right? You might not get that information unless you now try to do a scatter plot of age with respect to children, right? You will now see that definitely that one is going to stand out. In the age of 12, you see that you see a point there which tells you there's a value there, and whereas others are clustering around a particular point. So with that, kind of visualization, we're able to dictate that, and also domain knowledge is also going to help in trying to understand when a value is outlier. Then you apply, if it's numerical, this thing, you use your scatter plots to now see what to do. So I believe that answers.
Yeah, that's very thoughtful. Yeah, it makes sense because at least if you put it on a scatter plot, you can see the outliers easily. That way you can be guided. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for that question, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Um, please, if you have any other question, we won't be able to entertain any question anymore now. You can just note down your question. I think we are going to have the question first tomorrow before we continue with the visualization part. So please, let's do it to join very early tomorrow as we continue tomorrow. Mr. Emmanuel, thank you very much for having us. And Enoch, are you here? Enoch?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
All right, good evening. So, in 1 to 2 minutes, can you just say one or two things about this community then before we close for today?
All right. It's been an awesome, it's been an awesome time. Um, having a practical class on Excel with everyone. So this workshop is brought to us by Cratadel, and Cratadel is more than a community; it's an organization. But this is the community aspect of it, where we get to train young Nigerians who are interested in entrepreneurship and tech, you know, in a way that we can grow together to solve Africans' unique problem. So these are part of the things we do: workshops, seminars, podcasts, so that we can tune our mind and change the way we think to see um, a brighter future, not just for ourselves, but for Africa at large. So I want to say thank you to everyone that has attended tonight, and thank you to our tutor. Yeah, really grateful.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Enoch and Mr. Manuel. Thank you very much. All right. Good night. See you all tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sirs.